चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणी। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Isopanisad bhaktisashtri. Yesterday we began the discussion on the third section of the Isopanishads. What is the right Vidya? The right Upasana will be discussed in 12 to 14. And the fifth section will be prayers to the Ishwar. So we discussed mantra 9. Today we will discuss mantra 10. Anyad evahovidya, anyad ahoravidya, iti shushuma dhiranam, yenastad vichichakshire. The wise, iti shushuma dhiranam, have explained. Ye nastad vichichakshire. That one result is derived from the culture of knowledge. Anyad evahu vidya. And that a different result is obtained from the culture of science. Anyad ahur avidya. So let us see in the word-to-word meaning what Prabhupada says. Anyad ahu vidya, culture. Anyad ahu avidya, culture of science. Iti Shushma Virana. Now, let's go again to the section where we discuss the overview that this Vidya and Avidya in verses 9, 10, and 11, they have different meanings based on the context. So here, what does Avidya mean? Anyone remembers? Yesterday I discussed. What is the meaning of Avidya here? Anyone knows? Anyone remembers? No, no one. Okay, so verse 9 we had discussed. Okay, I'm displaying the slide. Vidya means so-called knowledge. That so-called knowledge can refer to the knowledge of the Vedas. They are Vedavada Ratapartha, but they don't know the real purpose of the Vedas. So-called knowledge it is. And Avidya is ignorance. And here in verse 10, the result of cultivation of Vidya, there is one result. And avidya refers to both Vidya and avidya in mantra 9. Both it refers to. To be in ignorance is bad in gross sense gratification. And in the name of Vedas, doing the highest sense gratification in the form of Swarga, Para, heavenly enjoyment, or the highest sense gratification is to become God, by moksha, by liberation. So all this, both so-called knowledge is included. So both Vidya and Avidya become here the definition of Avidya in mantra 10. So this is again mantra. I'll just change it now only, let us see. Otherwise, yeah, it has to be mantra, not verse. Right. So I hope it is clear now in mantra 10, what is Vidya and Avidya. So now when we know the meanings of the terms Vidya and Avidya here, then the verse makes sense for us. Now the overview of mantra 10. Vidya leads to desirable qualities. This is what Prabhupada will speak in paragraphs 1 and 2. Avidya leads to undesirable qualities. Prabhupada will speak about it in paragraphs 2 to 5. And only a dheer can teach Vidya. Iti shushuma dhirana. So only the dhira are one who are sober, one who have controlled their senses, one who are devoted to God, they can teach Vidya. So paragraph 6 to 9, Prabhupada will speak about how only a dheer can teach Vidya. So let's go to paragraphs 1 and 2. Now, Prabhupada in the purport speaks about the 20 items of knowledge, and then he speaks a little bit about in the next paragraph about it. So let's go through this list. First, I'll read the verses. It's not working. This is very famous in the Bhagavad Gita. Amanitvam madam vitvam ahimsa shantirajyavam acharupasana saucham stairyam atma vinigraha indriyarteshu vairagyam manankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktir anabhisang asaktir anabhisanga putradhara grahadishu nityam cha samachittatvam इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्य योगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी वित्तदेशसेवित्वं हरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज् ज्ञानम् इति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यद् अतोऽन्यथा. So Prabhupada is basically giving the definitions here. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. So this is Prabhupada's definition of Amanitvan. Very beautifully, Prabhupada, he is defining and explaining the practicalities of what is humility. So humility means to think less of oneself and think about others, how others should be respected, how others should be honored, and how our attention should be to serve others and not our consciousness may be absorbed in the self. I am low, I am fallen. These words might feel that, oh, this person is humble. But the center is I. So that can be false humility masquerading in the form of humility. So real humility means to think less of oneself and think of others, how others feel, and how I should give respect to others, how I should serve others. So that is humility. Then next, adhambitvam. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. So this is Prabhupada's definition of adhambitam. Dhamma means pride. So one should not be proud being a religious. And that is a demonic quality Krishna also mentions. That's why Prabhupada is mentioning, especially for a religionist, simply for name and fame, one should not do that. And then ahimsa. Prabhupada gives a very broad definition of what exactly is ahimsa. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the action of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. It's a very deep reflection on what is ahimsa. Ahimsa means, a broad definition we know is uh, that one should not cause harm to any living being. But here, Prabhupada is going deeper and mentioning that one should not even cause anxiety to others through his actions of body, minds, or words. So deep it is. Then one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. So that's Prabhupada's translation of Shantir. That is the translation for his Shantir. And then one should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealing with others. Arjavam, simplicity. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization. And one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service, and ask relevant questions. Now you can see Acharya Upasana. Prabhupada is giving such a wonderful explanation of the practical understanding of what is Acharya Upasana. Acharya Upasana is not that just we do the puja of the Acharya. So Prabhupada is giving a very, very practical understanding that one should search out a spiritual master so that he can attain gradually the stage of self-realization, and how one should do Upasana of the Acharya by Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshananti De Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshana. So Prabhupada is also defining here, uh, the definition given in verse of Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Okay, next. In order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures. So that is Saucham. Saucham is cleanliness. So I'll have to find out. One must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. Stairya. This we'll have to find out what exactly it is. Stairyam. Atma Vinigra will be control of senses. One should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. He's not just mentioning proper control of the senses and mind. Anything which is detrimental to self-realization. So again, a broad definition Prabhupada is saying. One should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. Indriyarteshu vairagyam. One should not one should not falsely identify himself with the material body, nor one should consider those who are related to his body to be his own. I think that is asaktir anabhisangam putradara grahadishu. One should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of birth, repeated birth, death, disease, and death, old age and disease. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. Prabhupada is giving the whole solution here. So this is the translation of Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. Asakti one should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. Putra Dhara Grahadishu. So then we'll have to find out what this is. We saw that, no? Okay. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross body, nor one should consider those who are related to his body to be his own. Indriyarteshu vairagya. Yeah, Indriyarteshu vairagya, that is. Okay. Ahankar, being free from false ego also. Okay, we'll have to map it. I have not done that exactly, but we'll find them. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. So this is Prabhupada's translation of Nityam cha sama chittatvam, ishtanishto papattishu. And then one should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. Mayi chanyana yogena bhakti avyabicharini. Now here you see there are 20 items of knowledge, but here in the list there is only 18, because combined, Prabhupada is combined in 17, 17 and 18 is there, and in 18 there is also the other two. So that's how the list will come: 17, 18, 19 and 20. So because in 17 there are two and in 18 there are two. So in 17 one should not develop a liking for residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere favorable for spiritual culture, and one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. So this is Prabhupada's translation of Vivikta Desha Sevita, Artir Janasamsiddhi. So these two are together. And then in the next 18, one should become a scientist or a philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is the permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. So this is Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. So Prabhupada gives very, very wonderful definitions of these 20 items of knowledge. And of course, the list is here 18, but 17, in 17 there are two, in 18 there are two, so that makes 20. So whether one is a physics student or a metaphysics student, ultimately it should lead to Atma Gyan, because only the knowledge pertaining to the soul and culture of spiritual knowledge or culture of spiritual practices are permanent. All material knowledge, whatever we acquire, with the death, it is finished. So this is how Prabhupada defines these 18 items. These 18 items combine to form a gradual process. These 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great external features of the illusionary energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than a ass. Jada Vidya Maya Vaibhav. Jiver Manoy Goda. So that song is there of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This same principle is found here in the Ishopanisads. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic, but unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. So even the politicians, they take the garb of spiritual guys and they in their lectures or whatever it is, their talks, they condemn this, civilization as satanic, but they also don't care for real spiritual knowledge, real vidya, Ishavasya principle, which is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, they cannot change the situation. And you know whom Prabhupada is referring to here. We need not describe. So let's go in the slides. There is changing conceptions of knowledge. According to Prahlad Maharaj, what is knowledge? knowledge is devotion. That is, this is transcendental. So Prahlad Maharaj defines Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Pada Sevanam, Archanam Vandam Dasyam, Sakyam Atmani Vedanam, Iti Pumsarpitam Vishnu, Bhaktischa Navalakshana, Kriyate Adya. I don't recollect the last line. Let me see the verse 7, 5, 23, I think. Kriyate Bhagavad Adya Tanmanne Aditam Uttamam. So I'll just show the verse. So here Prahlad Maharaj is saying what? What is knowledge? Knowledge means cultivating these 9 limbs of devotion. And Bhaktishan Navalakshana, these are the 9 symptoms of Bhakti. Kriyate Bhagavat, they are performed in relationship to the Lord. What happens? Tanmanne, I think, I consider Aditam learning, and it is topmost. So knowledge means it should lead us to attraction towards Krishna. So these 9 limbs of devotion ultimately take the soul towards the Supreme Soul. And that is transcendental. Tanmanne aditam uttamam. So this is the highest definition of knowledge. This is the highest conception of knowledge. And then Socrates defined knowledge as knowledge is virtue. So this is more in a sattvic context. Knowledge means to develop, good qualities, to be in the mode of goodness, to, to not harm others. So developing all these good qualities, virtue, educare means to bring out the good qualities within. Then Francis Bacon, who is considered as a pioneer of, the Industrial Revolution, which slowly began, he defined knowledge as is power. So this is, straight away we can see this is very Rajasic definition of knowledge. So today we can see knowledge means how to control material nature. So the material nature, we want to get it to our level and manipulate and make it work according to our will. So today, all this technology, these remote controls we have, for the fan, we have remote control, for the TV, we have remote control, we have everything is controlled by, we are controlling machines. So trying to manipulate material energy according to our will. So this is tamas, rajasic, and ultimately it leads to, destruction only. So today there are so many weapons which are being created, and these weapons, especially the nuclear atom bombs, can be used for destruction of mass of people. In fact, it can wipe the whole planet. So this is rajasic and tamasic. So there are different changing conceptions of knowledge, and the highest is what? Knowledge which leads to devotion. So these are the verses which I quoted, and let us go to Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary on this verse. The 2 knowers of field, Kshetragya. The Kshetra is the idam shariram, Kshetram iti abhidhiyate. The body is Kshetra, both the gross and subtle. And the knower of the body, that is the soul, is Kshetragya. There is another Kshetragya, Kshetragyam cha apimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. So that is the Paramatma who resides in all the bodies. So there are 2 knowers of the field, the Jiva and Paramatma, which are to be known by distinguishing them from the field. Field is Kshetra. Just mentioned, will be described in detail. So, analysis between matter and spirit is being only done here. Because the Jnana section begins here in the 13th chapter. So, there is a Kshetra and Kshetragya. There is a Kshetragya, the Jiva and the Paramatma. And you have to know the Kshetra, difference between the distinction between the field and the knower of the field. And these 20 items of knowledge help us in that analysis. The 20 factors to be used for gaining that knowledge is first mentioned in 5 verses. So, in the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, Arjuna puts forth 6 questions. What is Kshetra, Kshetragya, Prakriti, Purusha, and Jnana and Geha? What is the knowledge and the object of knowledge? The object of knowledge. So Krishna has, in the first beginning verses of the 13th chapter, has defined Kshetra and Kshetragya. He has defined them. And now, in these verses, these 5 verses, from 8 to 12, he is defining what is Jnana. And the object of knowledge is to attain the knowledge of Paramatma, which he'll further explain in that 13th chapter. So, mentioned in these 5 verses. Of these, 18 are common to both the devotees and the Jnanis. So, 18 are common to devotees and Jnanis. However, the devotees zealously engage in one element mentioned in the 11th verse, Mayi cha ananya yogena. Bhakti avyavicharini. The other 17 items manifest automatically for those who engage in that one item. So here, specifically, I would like to point out that when we do akinchana bhakti or ananya bhakti, then by that practice of ananya bhakti or shuddha bhakti, then all the qualities automatically manifest. Because in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is the definition of Uttama Bhakti and the characteristics of Uttama Bhakti. The first 2 characteristics which manifest in sadhana bhakti stage is Kleshagni and Shubhada. Shubhada means all the auspicious qualities automatically manifest with the manifestation of bhakti. So, here it specifically refers to Ananya Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti. The bhaktas do not devote effort to the 17 items individually. This is the tradition. The last 2 items are especially for Jnanis. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. These 2 are for Jnanis. The meaning of the items such as Amanitva is clear, therefore no comments are given. Saucha refers to both internal and external cleanliness. The Smriti says, Saucham ta cha dvividam proktam bhayab abhyantaram tata vrijjalabhyam smritam bhayam bhavashuddhistatantaram. There are 2 types of cleanliness described, internal and external. Internal cleanliness is by water and earth. Mrid jalabhyam. Internal cleanliness is purity of mind. Bhava shuddhis tadantaram. Anudarshanam means to observe constantly the detrimental effect of sorrow caused by birth, death, old age, and disease. Asakti means to give up affection for sons and others. Anabhisangam means the lack of identification with the happiness and distress of sons and others. Yes, this was that definition which Prabhupada also gave. Samachittantam means to remain calm in the face of receiving either favorable or unfavorable treatments or events. One should have bhakti unmixed with karma, gyan, tapa or yoga. So here is Mayi cha ananya yogena. Unto me, Sham Sundar. The word cha here indicates that bhakti can also be performed with a slight mixture of gyan or other jnana mishra bhakti. Mayi cha ananya yogena bhakti avyavicharini. Cha is there, na? The cha refers to mixed devotion. The first, the unmixed type, will be executed by the devotees. The second type will be executed by the jnanis. Some devotees say, however, that this statement, being in the last 6 chapters, is for showing that just as Ananya Bhakti produces prema, it is also necessary to practice for realization of Paramatma. And if the sentence refers only to Jnanis, then the phrase Ananya Yogena means by thinking of everything as Atma. Ananya Yogena. Avyavicharini means that one should do it daily, non-stop. Madhusudan Saraswati says the word abhabicharini refers to bhakti, which cannot be stopped by any means at all. So there is a devotional, from a devotional perspective, the understanding of the term Mahicha Ananya Yogan is there. And then from the Jnana perspective also, because the 13 to 18 chapter is the Jnana section of the Bhagavad Gita. So that's how Vishwanath Chandra Thakur defines this. Adhyatma Jnana means knowledge related to Atma. One should engage oneself in that knowledge constantly. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. This means that one should be fixed in the purity of the self. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. One should always keep in mind one goal of moksha in one's cultivation of knowledge of truth. Tattva Gyan Artha Darshana. Gyan ka Artha. Ultimately, the Artha is here moksha. So this refers to the Gyanis in the Gyan path. Okay. These 20 elements are the common means for attaining knowledge of Jiva and Paramatma. Jnanam here refers to the means of knowledge rather than knowledge itself. These are the means of knowledge. The additional methods necessary for realizing Paramatma will be explained later. So later in the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, or even in this chapter, how to realize the Paramatma, in the last section of the 13th chapter, 13.30 to 35, it will be explained. Doing the opposite of this, such as exhibiting pride instead of lack of pride, is called ignorance. Adham Vitvam, is being discussed. Okay. So now let's go to the next section, that is, avidya leads to undesirable qualities. So the qualities we need to develop is these 20 qualities, and the first 18 are common, both for devotees and Gyanis. The next two are specifically for the Gyanis. And those who practice Ananya Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, please remember that. All these qualities will automatically manifest. So this is the first section. Any questions, any clarifications on this? Okay, let's go to the next section now. Avidya leads to development of undesirable qualities. So Prabhupada will speak about students. No amanitvam, no saucham. He'll speak that in paragraph 2. And then students grow up to be scientists. No ahimsa. They sometimes become pseudo-religionist. No adamvitvam. Or nationalist. That he'll deal with paragraph 4 and 5. So that's how the flow is. So let's go to paragraph 2. What Prabhupada has to say. Okay, paragraph 2. One sense. This is paragraph. Paragraph 2 is discussed here already. Okay, paragraph 3. Who will read paragraph 3? Okay, Deepadatri Mataji. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can continue.
Thank you. In a modern society, even a boy thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities. Boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. Thus, Sri Isopanisad very strongly warns that the culture of nescience is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nescience only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. Thus, there is animosity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well.
Yeah. So here Prabhupada is speaking about uh, in paragraph 2, Prabhupada spoke about students, no amanitvam, no saucham. And he spoke about how students grow up to ultimately become scientists and develop weapons of mass destruction. There is no ahimsa which is followed, because ahimsa is one of the items not to cause anxiety with our actions or with words or even with our mind to others, but now we are developing weapons of mass destruction to wipe out the population. So no ahimsa is there. So that's what Prabhupada is speaking here. So here, uh, Prabhupada is describing how this modern society, education, people, the students think they are self-sufficient. They don't pay respect to others. And because of this kind of education, what to speak of giving respect to elders, even the teachers, even now it's rampant in the schools that the children don't only not only respect the teachers, but they make mockery of the teacher. They do some funny things, they crack jokes in the midst of the class, all this. So they do all this because of a wrong type of education, and they give headache to the elders here. The parents and even the teachers. And this culture of avidya ultimately will give a result, which is it will take us to ignorance, the darkest regions. And that's why Prabhupada is very heavy here. You can say Prabhupada is saying the universities are, so to speak, sentence of nescience only. Such a heavy statement, too heavy for the materialists to digest this also. But it is a fact. And why? Because scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. And we see now today, there are two major wars going on. One is the war between Russia and Ukraine, and now this recently has started. Which is the second one? Anyone knows? Which is the second war which is going on now? Yes, Parsarthi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Israel and Palestine.
Israel, Palestine, the Hamas. How many people were killed in the first day? Thousands of people were killed. All these, they are creating these weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. Prabhupada is so specific. And education means, to give instructions as per the Veda to regulate the body and mind and lead a brahmacharya life. So where is that kind of education given in universities? There is no education given. So by brahmacharya, by leading a brahmacharya life, and for women leading a chaste, which leads to purity, chastity, for brahmacharya life, there is retention of the semen, by which the dharana shakti, smriti shakti. Dharana shakti means to hold. Whatever you think, just hold on to that thought and deeply meditate on it, or to hold an object for meditation. You can do dharan. And smriti shakti, memory. You can remember. That is the power of practicing brahmacharya life. So all the universities right now, in the schools and colleges, this education is not there. And that's why, the situation, it all comes in the newspaper, all, illicit activities, illicit sex, which happens, and there is, unwanted pregnancy, and then there's abortion. Right in the schools only, this is happening today, and this is creating so much headache to the elders. Because real education means to teach in, brahmacharya life. Religious principles, even if they are taught only for the sake of name and fame, and not for practical action. And then even in the field of religion, there is animosity, not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion. So there is, even in the field of religion, there is animosity. So Prabhupada admits that. And because as long as we are not on the Paramahamsa stage, we are not pure, yes, it is there. Only the Paramahamsas are free from envy. Dharma projita kaitavo paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Nirmatsaranam. So Prabhupada brings out that point. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada speaks about nationalism. Okay, I'll read this. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to the cultivation of nescience by the general people. Now, Prabhupada is giving a very, very broad vision of how to see reality. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. So Prabhupada is calling this tiny earth as just a lump of matter. And this lump of matter is floating. And there are immeasurable other lumps which are floating. In comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps are like dust particles in the air. From a cosmic perspective, Prabhupada is seeing things. From, if you're, that famous, in the Leelamrit it comes, for Prabhupada first time took a flight from New York to Boston, or I don't know which city. And the devotees, when they went to welcome Prabhupada, they wanted to know his experience of, the flight. They thought, Prabhupada will speak about technology, how wonderful the aircraft was. And Prabhupada said, I just saw from the top, all these buildings are looking like matchsticks. So tiny, So Prabhupada was seeing everything from the Shastra Chakshu. So he's giving a Shastra Chakshu. We're thinking about nationalism in this small earth. There is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or India, America, now today China and Taiwan. All these tensions are going on, India and China. But this whole earth is just like a small lump. And it is floating in the space. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. They are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. The drivers of our spaceships may be very proud of their achievements. But they do not consider the supreme driver of these great, more gigantic spaceships called planets. So you need a spaceship, you need a driver for it. You need a driver for driving a vehicle, you need a driver for driving a aircraft. So you also need a driver to drive spacecrafts. So how much of technology, how much of intelligence is used? But don't we need a driver for driving these spaceships called planets? So they don't consider that, Prabhupada is saying. So Prabhupada is here giving this understanding from this word. Nationalism means to identify with the body. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke swadi kalaktradishu bhaum ijjadhi yattirtha buddhi shalilena karhichit janeshu abhigneshu sa eva ghokhara. One who identifies his self, yasya atma buddhi, as an inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air. Kunapeka kridhatuke. His body is made of kapha pitta vayu. Who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own. Swadhi kalatradeshu. Who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable? Bhauma ijjadi. And who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, yat tirtha buddhi shalile, but who never identifies himself with, feels kingship with, worships or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. Na karichit janeshu abhigneshu. Such a person is no better than a cow or ass. Sa eva gokhara. Sa eva gokhara. So there is Atma Buddhi, identifying oneself as this body made of these three dhatus, Kapha Pitta Vayu. There is Swadhiya Buddhi, considering the bodily expansions like wife and children, are permanent. And there is Bhauma Dhiya. Bhauma means the land where I born. I born in this village. So I should build a temple. Why I'm building a temple there? So that they need not worship the Lord there. They can worship me. And my name should be there. So it's more of that consciousness. Bhauma Buddhi. Ijja Buddhi. Or they consider this deity as just made of stone. And then there is Tirtha Buddhi. Tirtha Buddhi is what? Tirtha Buddhi is, although the holy water is completely spiritual, they consider it what? It's some ordinary water. Who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there. So they are what? Sa eva gokara. So this is basically identification with the body. And this consciousness we should be aware about. And I have my own experience many years back when I went out to work after my engineering. I was in a different city, and moment I used to arrive in my city, I used to feel a kind of a happiness that I'm back in my hometown. So that was like more identification based on this is my hometown, where I belong to. So similarly, that can be that I'm an Indian, So that can be that kind of consciousness can be there. So we should be careful whether we are still affected by that kind of consciousness. Suppose many devotees are in the Gulf countries, and most of you belong to India, and your own hometown maybe in some part of the country, and maybe when you go, that time, oh, I've come back to my, birthplace or my hometown. And if your consciousness is getting attracted to that place, that means still there is, Atma Buddhi, or there is the Bhauma Buddhi. Bhauma Buddhi is there. Bhaumadi is there. So that is there. Okay, now regarding these two paragraphs which we discussed, students grow up to be scientists, pseudo-religious, and nationalists. Paragraphs 4 and 5. Any questions you have? Any clarifications? Okay. Now the last section is only the Dhira can teach Vidya, paragraph 6 to 9. So who will read this paragraph 6 to 9? Oh, there are questions, huh? Okay. Shri Valli Mataji, yes.
Identification with the land.
Yes.
I have a question about that. Many places it's mentioned in Itihasas also. Bharat is a place of Karma Bhumi and the greatness of being, the fortune of the person of being born there and all that. So, does that also count, Prabhu?
Yes, that can also count. No, uh, it can lead to pride that we are born in the land of India, and if we don't seriously take to spiritual culture, then and we are proud about it, then it can act as an obstacle. And we see in the pastime of Haridas Thakur was born in a Yavana family, and he was not allowed to take darshan of Jagannath, and he never attempted also. And that kind of a humility helped him to be free of pride. But Jagannath himself, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is to visit Haridas Thakur. And today, one Western devotee told me, he's been residing in Jagannath Puri. He writes a lot of articles. He's a very advanced devotee. He's from the Western countries. He was personally discussing with me that he's been living in Jagannath Puri for many years. And he cannot go inside to take Jagannath darshan. He has written books also on Jagannath. So once he was just passing by the Jagannath temple, and one of the pandas, he in one sense criticized or rebuked him. Hey, you come here, Arey, you're staying so many years in Jagannath Puri, but see your misfortune. That not even once you're able to go inside the temple of Jagannath and take darshan. So he was ridiculing him. And he, out of his humility, just kept quiet. But the next moment, another panda arrived there to give a special prasad, which is offered to Jagannath. And darshan is not different from the Lord's darshan. And this panda gave this prasad, and then the other panda, immediately, realized, So when he told me the story, in Puri only itself, he told me the story, and then I had gone inside to take darshan of Jagannath with some devotees, and when I was just coming out, I happened to see few Western devotees just passing by the temple, and seeing us, out of humility and natural respect, they offered obeisances. Because they are thinking we are fortunate because we are not able to take darshan, we can go inside, but they are not so fortunate. But that mood, what they are having, that is what the Lord is more pleased by that. And they are getting the real mercy. So I was myself feeling, what's the point I taking darshan of Jagannath? They are getting actually the more mercy. So sometimes, this can lead to pride and it can lead to obstacles. So that's the point. Lata Mataji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandavat. I had the same question, Prabhu.
Same
We
question.
identify India as the Karma Bhumi. You have clarified it.
Yeah. Not only India is a Karma Bhumi, this earth itself is a Karma Bhumi. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, Karmanubandini Manushaloke. Karma, work, bound, Manushaloka, the world of human society. This earth planet, Manushaloka, this earth planet, there is, everyone is bound by karma. So in the heavenly planets, even if they do any actions, there is no reaction they get. They are only enjoying the fruits of their pious actions in the heavenly planets. And even though they only are going through the sufferings of whatever karma they have performed. So there is only punishment there in the hellish planets. They don't only further generate karma. So only on Earth planet, you can generate pious karma by which you can get elevated to the heavenly planets, or you can commit sinful activities by which you can go to hellish planets, or you can perform devotional activities, become free from the chain of pious and impious actions and attain liberation, and then With pure devotional service, you can go back to the spiritual world. So that's how rare this Earth planet is. Okay. Okay, let's go to the last theme now. Only the Dhiras can teach. Okay, there is one more question. Yes. One second. Only the Dhiras can teach Vidya. Yes, Dwarkadish Prabhuji.
Harish Prabhu. Prabhu, this is love towards one's own nation. You know, there's a prime. That's required. If not there, the society cannot run, right? Even in Kurukshetra also, Krishna told Arjuna, you should claim your country. You should not leave for others. You have to claim your country and enjoy your life. So this nationalism.
Where does Krishna tell that? Which verse can you tell me?
When I don't remember, but he says,
no.
This is the use for you. You have to either you can enjoy the kingdom, or you will go to hellish planets if you don't do your duty. Yeah?
No, but he doesn't say about love for the country and all.
No, it's not that, but that is required. Otherwise,
no.
a king should love his country. Otherwise, how he will rule the country?
No. You see, that is your understanding, but that's not what in the Bhagavad Gita it is said. Hato va prapsasi sarvam, jito va. I'll show you the verse. Hato va prapsasi sargam, jitva va bhokshisi mahim. Tasmad uttishta kaunte yudhaya krita nishchaya. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets. Hato va prapsasi sargam. Or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Jitva va bhokshasi mahim. Mahi is earth. Therefore, get up with determination of it. So you will have to understand now at this point in the Bhagavad Gita, this is the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has spoken about Atma Gyan, Sankhya Yoga from Bhagavad Gita 2.12 to 2.30. And then after that, 2.31 to 37, the first level of Atma Gyan is, Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda is the first level of Atma Gyan, but it is still based on bodily consciousness. It is still based on bodily consciousness. Because ultimately, you want to go to the heaven and enjoy there. But Krishna is further going to give knowledge to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then he is going to condemn Karma Kanda in 42 and 43. So you'll have to see progressively the Gita and understand and get the right, conclusion.
Okay, Prabhu, but this
is it clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, this point is clear. But the love for one's own nation, is it not good or?
For devotees, the whole nation is Krishna's nation. The whole humanity is part and parcel of Krishna. If you have love for your own nation, then there is discrimination. You're dividing. So there has to be samabuddhi, pandita samadarshina. Then only then you can. So that's why we have to elevate our consciousness to these higher levels.
That means
we cannot deny that we have more love and affection for our own swajana. But ultimately that has to more get diverted, that we have to see them as Krishna's jana, and we should see all other devotees also as Vishnu jana. So they also should become dear to us. So like that, our affection boundary should not only be restricted to the gross body and at a subtle level, but it should spring from the spiritual platform by having affection for all living beings. Yeah.
But bro, this Swadharma, the protect own country, just like the soldiers, they are protecting the country. So that is, you mean say
that is a Kshatriya dharma. That is a Kshatriya dharma. And he's doing it on behalf of Krishna. On behalf of Krishna, he's doing it. That is the Kshatriya Swadharma. But he's acting as a Ishwar because he knows that this land belongs to Krishna and I've been appointed to look after the praja. In that mood it is.
So that means any other war happens nowadays all adharmic. It's not as per dharma. We should not.
I don't know any other war which was fought based on dharma after the Battle of Kurukshetra. There are some wars definitely in the recent past, like during 15th century, the Kshatriya kings, Maharaj Prataprudra fought with the South Indian, who was having the Sakshi Gopal deity. So they were all dharmic battles. But today's, battles, they are more fought on, more on this nationalism. We can see today's war also is based on the land only, division of the land. It's all going on.
But for to protect the country, suppose Pakistan attacks us, so we need to, our army needs to do something.
Yes, that has to be done. There is no doubt about it. Okay. Fine. Let's go now to the last section, Dhira. Shri Isopanishads. Okay, who will read this? 3 paragraphs. This is quite simple. Who will read? Lata Mataji, you will read? Sri Valli Mataji, okay. Okay, both have raised their hand. What to do? Okay, we'll give the third choice. Nitya Sehani Mataji, yes. Yes. Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Isopanishads.
Sri Isopanishad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from Dhira. A Dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. A Dhira realizes.
Hold on. So Prabhupada gives first definition of Dhira, that to attain Vidya, you have to acquire it from a Dhira. And Dhira's first definition is not disturbed by material illusion. And no one can be undisturbed until he is perfectly spiritually realized. This is the standard. At which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. So which reference you can give from the Bhagavad Gita to substantiate this statement of Prabhupada? Anyone? Which reference you can give from the Bhagavad Gita to substantiate this statement? You have all studied the Bhagavad Gita in your bhaktisashtri now. Yes, Parsati Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Brahma Bhuta Prasannata. Na Sochiti Na Kankshati. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Bhakti
Bhakti Param. Na Sochiti, you are on the Brahma Bhuta platform. You are Prasannatma, that's why. So, Nashta Prayeshu Abhardeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Evam Tada Rajastamo Bhavo Kamalobhadaschet Chetete Ranavidam Stitvam Satve Prasiddhati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata. So only at the liberated platform, when you are perfectly spiritualized, when there is no hankering, no lamentation, then you are a Dhira. Okay, continue. A Dhira. I have to unmute you, I guess. Yes.
Sorry. Dhira realizes that the material body and the mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain.
Yes. So this is, it's not by chance, but Prabhupada here gives that definition. There is anadi karma, there's a combination of Prakriti and Purusha. That combination is anadi because of avidya. And moment we come in touch with the spiritual master, there's a turning of the consciousness towards the absolute truth. So he makes the best use of the bad bargain. Now Prabhupada continues that further in next paragraph. Continue.
The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. Actually, it is the living souls, the parts and parcels of the supreme living being who move the world. The Dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles.
Yes. So here Prabhupada mentions that the real activity of the soul is in the spiritual world. That is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And as long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be living world. So similarly, this body is always dead and it appears to be living because the spirit is present. Atma is present in this body. The moment the body leaves, then what happens? It's dead. But although it seems like it is dead, the body is always dead. But it appears to be alive because of the presence of the spirit's soul. Similarly, this is at the microorganism level, microcosmic level. At the macrocosmic level, Prabhupada is speaking now. As long as we have a subtlest of the subtlest tendencies to, manipulate matter, till then we are conditioned. We should remember. Even the slightest tinge to control matter at a higher level, more than controlling matter, what is that higher level we would like to control? We might, give up controlling matter. At a higher level, what would you like to control? Think about it. Who will answer this? What would you like to control? Anyone? Yes, Parsati Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Controlling people, controlling their minds.
Yes, controlling other people. This tendency is very, very deep-rooted. People's mind, especially other people you want to control. So the spiritual master controls his disciples not out of artificial way, but he controls them through love, because the Lord resides in his heart and he has pure love for the Lord, and through love he controls them. So this control of other living beings is there, and we have to become free from that. And to become free from controlling matter itself is difficult. Actually, it is the living souls, the part and parcels of the supreme living, who move the world. Now, where in the Gita Krishna speaks about this? Actually, it is the living souls, the part and parcels of the supreme living being, who move the world. Where does Krishna speak in the Bhagavad Gita? Which verse in the Bhagavad Gita he speaks about this? Anyone knows? Anyone remembers which verse in the Bhagavad Gita? Mohan Rupsham Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
For remembering these verses. Only our senior is Pavanapala Prabhuji.
Pardon?
Our Pavanapala Prabhuji knows.
Okay. So it is 7.5. Aparam itastu anyam. There is another superior nature. Prakritim vidyam me param. It is composed of the superior nature. It is also Prakriti, but Jiva Bhutam. Now, plural is used, not singular. The set, the aggregate of all jivas were conditioned. Mahabhava, although it is Mahabhava, O mighty Am, Yedam Dharate Jagat. Dharate Jagat. Prabhupada is translating is utilized or exploited, this material world. So, Krishna is very sarcastically addressing the jivas here. It's like, in the prison cell, there are prisoners, they're bound by shackles, and these prisoners are there in the prison cells, iron cells, and they are thinking that we are running this prison house. So the jivas are bound in this material world, by gross and subtle body, and we are, covered by matter, and there are 7 layers which are covering this universe. We are caught in this, and we are in this tiny universe, planet Earth, tiny Earth. We are trying to control and manipulate matter. Such a, Krishna must be laughing at it, So, yedam dharate jagat. So, this is the point Prabhupada is making. Actually, it is a living source, the part and parcels of the Supreme Being who move the world. The Dhiras have come to know that all these facts by hearing from them and have realized this knowledge by following. So, the Dhiras have understood this and they are free from this. So, the qualifications of the Dhiras, Prabhupada is, mentioning in these paragraphs. First is, he's not disturbed by material illusion. He is free, he is perfectly spiritually realized, and he neither hankers or laments. And he makes the best use of the bargain, the material body, and he has realized he is free from manipulating dead matter. Okay, the last paragraph. Nitya Sevini Mataji.
To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of any scientist education. One can become dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, become a dhira by submissively hearing from the Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead himself. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is the process of learning Vidya, knowledge, from the Dhira, the undisturbed.
So now the next thing is, Prabhupada spoke about it, that the Dhiras understand these facts about the predicament of the Jiva, about hearing from superior authorities, and they hear and they realize it. It's very important. They realize this knowledge. How? By following the regulative principles. And to follow the regulative principles, one has to first surrender to the spiritual master. The spiritual master gives us the regulative principles, the 4 regulative principles and the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mantra. And this comes in the disciplinary succession. One has to hear from a bona fide spiritual master, and the bona fide disciple is Arjuna and Krishna. And Prabhupada is giving a very high standard here. That the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as Lord Krishna himself. Okay, last paragraph.
An adhira, one who has not undergone the training of dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as dhiras are actually adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? Thus, one must hear submissively from the dhira in order to attain actual education.
So here in the last paragraph, Prabhupada mentions how the adhira cannot be an instructive leader. And he gives the example of the modern politicians. They may pose themselves as dhiras, but they cannot give perfect knowledge. So only The Dhiras, when hears submissively from the Dhiras, then he can get the right Vidya, So in Mantra 11, again, there is a contrast between this definition of Vidya and Avidya. Vidya means here devotional service, knowledge of it. Avidya means, the knowledge which is necessary for us to maneuver in the material energy. So that will come up in Mantra 11. So here it means material knowledge that is essential for living in this material world. So that will come up in the next mantra. That we will take up in the next week. I think there is no other concepts to be explained. Yeah, this was the last slide. So mantra 11 we will take up next week. Okay, so we'll stop here. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Yes, Rajeshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, this modern education, it leads to the knee science, but that is what is available in today's world, right? So, and what options we have, like being a devotee parent, we do not have much options, but in fact, we aspire them to go and do their CAs and MBAs and their, right? Like they are being exposed to that education only. So what as a, what do I expect? Because that is what the options are.
That is why it is more important, right from childhood, the spiritual education should be given, so that ultimately, because today, in order to survive in this world, in order to sustain in this world, maintain the body, we need to also take that kind of education, but we don't get too much enamored and get carried away and forget the real purpose of life. So a balance has to be struck, especially in today's world, because even for devotees to maintain their body and maintain Krishna's family and it's Krishna's family, they have to work in the material world. But we all see that most of our energy is going in that direction. And we hardly get time for our spiritual practices, although we are attracted, we want to do it more and more. But the way, the attraction towards, the material energy is because of the, whole setup today, the whole environment is like that. So that is why it is very, very important that right from the beginning, this culture of spiritual education is taught, so that all the impressions are there, and even when they go out, they can balance it and then lead a very balanced life, and more, they can go towards more of spiritual education. In the Vedic times, interestingly, with respect to maintenance of the bodies, it was taken care. The kings used to take care. But today the situation is not like that. Even somebody who is a Brahmana is Brahmanical by nature, and just by patan yajan, he cannot maintain his livelihood. So we have to also see that we go into an education which is very close, the education which is close, that in our livelihood also, we are in touch with it, and we more, plan out from a long term, that we don't get carried away or get enamored by avidya in one sense. Does that make sense, Mataji?
Yeah, Prabhu, means what I'm feeling is, okay, since I have a background of a spiritual knowledge, I am able to at least give or inculcate some qualities of it, or I pass on that too. But if in the way you are saying, it has to be like you have to cultivate this from a very childhood. for that the parent also has to be be part of it. Now if
Right.
you will see, most of the population are completely ignorant of it, and there is
Yes.
no education institutions as such other than what iskcon is preaching, going out in the colleges and doing the preaching activities for the youth. So
A lot
there is
has
like
a
huh?
lot has to be lot has to be done, but let us begin with
Haribol.
you know, our own unit one, and then we can think about it. But that's what Prabhupada, one of the things he wanted was to establish Varnashram. 50% of his work is incomplete, he said. He wanted to establish Varnashram. So it's very important for us to do that, so that we are in a right environment, and our bodily maintenance is, we don't need to, too much be in touch with the material energy to take care of the bodily system. We do it in a good environment so that we can more practice culture of spiritual knowledge. So it is required, and that's a vast subject, which is I don't feel that we can discuss in this forum. It's a separate topic in
Yeah.
itself. It's a series of seminars we'll have to give on that. Okay.
Right, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop here.